If one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable. No man was ever wise by chance. A man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary. Religion is regarded by the common people as true, by the wise as false, and by the rulers as useful. One of the most beautiful qualities of true friendship is to understand and to be understood. We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future. The bravest sight in the world is to see a great man struggling against adversity. It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness. He who is brave is free. Luck is a matter of preparation needing opportunity. Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for a kindness. It is quality rather than quantity that matters. Sometimes even to live is an act of courage. Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. As long as you live, keep learning how to live. If you wished to be loved, love. Life, if well lived, is long enough. A sword never kills anybody. It is a tool in the killer's hand. Love in its essence is spiritual fire. Brave men rejoice in adversity, just as brave soldiers triumph in war. As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters. The less we deserve good fortune, the more we hope for it. Death is the wish of some, the relief of many, and the end of all. It's not because things are difficult that we dare not venture. It's because we dare not venture that they are difficult. All cruelty springs from weakness. The day which we fear as our last is but the birthday of eternity. He who has great power should use it lightly. Not how long, but how well you have lived is the main thing. A gift consists not in what is done or given, but in the intention of the giver or doer. Life's like a play. It's not the length, but the excellence of the acting that matters. For greed all nature is too little. You must live for another if you wish to live for yourself. He that does good to another does good also to himself. Difficulty strengthens the mind as labor does the body. A kingdom founded on injustice never lasts. A man's as miserable as he thinks he is. A physician is not angry at the intemperance of a mad patient, nor does he take it ill to be railed at by a man in fever. Just so should a wise man treat all mankind as a physician does his patient, and look upon them only as sick and extravagant. While we are postponing, life speeds by. The first step in a person's salvation is knowledge of their sin. Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power. Success is not greedy, as people think, but insignificant. That is why it satisfies nobody. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. I shall never be ashamed of citing a bad author if the line is good. It is more fitting for a man to laugh at life than to lament over it. Time discovers truth. Our plans miscarry because they have no aim. When a man does not know what harbor he is making for, know when is the right wind, we should every night call ourselves to an account. What infirmity have I mastered today? What passions opposed? What temptation resisted? What virtue acquired? Our vices will abate of themselves if they be brought every day to the shrift. Be wary of the man who urges an action in which he himself incurs no risk. Everywhere is nowhere. When a person spends all his time in foreign travel, he ends by having many acquaintances, but no friends. No one can be happy who has been thrust outside the pale of truth, and there are two ways that one can be removed from this realm, by lying or by being lied to. Life is the fire that burns, and the sun that gives light. Life is the wind and the rain and the thunder in the sky. Life is matter and is earth. What is and what is not, and what beyond is in eternity. Health is the soul that animates all the enjoyments of life, which fade and are tasteless without it. He who does not prevent a crime when he can, encourages it. You learn to know a pilot in a storm. Nothing is so wretched or foolish as to anticipate misfortunes. What madness is it to be expecting evil before it comes? We should give as we would receive, cheerfully, quickly, and without hesitation, for there is no grace in a benefit that sticks to the fingers. In war there is no prize for runner-up. All art is but imitation of nature. If a man knows not what harbor he seeks, any wind is the right wind. Whenever the speech is corrupted, so is the mind. Poverty wants some, luxury many, and avarice all things. Modesty forbids what the law does not. Expecting is the greatest impediment to living. In anticipation of tomorrow, it loses today. The mind that is anxious about the future is miserable. Every rain must submit to a greater rain. A great fortune is a great slavery. Anger is like those ruins which smash themselves on what they fall. No great genius has ever existed without some touch of madness. For many men, the acquisition of wealth does not end their troubles, it only changes them. Ignorant people see life as either existence or non-existence, but wise men see it beyond both existence and non-existence to something that transcends them both. This is an observation of the middle way. Ignorant people see life as either existence or non-existence, but wise men see it beyond both existence and non-existence to something that transcends them both. This is an observation of the middle way. There are more things to alarm us than to harm us, and we suffer more often in apprehension than reality. There is no person so severely punished as those who subject themselves to the whip of their own remorse. The first and greatest punishment of the Sinner is the conscience of sin. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. When I think over what I have said, I envy dumb people. Shun no toil to make yourself remarkable by some talent or other, yet do not devote yourself to one branch exclusively. Strive to get clear notions about all. Give up no science entirely, for science is but one. Every sin is the result of a collaboration. There is no delight in owning anything unshared. The things hardest to bear are sweetest to remember. God is the universal substance in existing things. He comprises all things. He is the fountain of all being. In him exists everything that is. There is nothing in the world so much admired as a man who knows how to bear unhappiness with courage. It is the failing of youth not to be able to restrain its own violence. The mind unlearns with difficulty what it has long learned. Let us train our minds to desire what the situation demands. Behold a worthy sight, to which the god, turning his attention to his own work, may direct his gaze. Behold an equal thing, worthy of a god, a brave man matched in conflict with evil fortune. We often want one thing and pray for another, not telling the truth even to the gods. A great mind becomes a great fortune. The wish for healing has always been half of health. Shall I tell you what the real evil is? To cringe to the things that are called evils, to surrender to them our freedom in defiance of which we ought to face any suffering. A happy life is one which is in accordance with its own nature. He who has made a fair compact with poverty is rich. The good things of prosperity are to be wished, but the good things that belong to adversity are to be admired. I never come back home with the same moral character I went out with. Something or other becomes unsettled where I had achieved internal peace. Some one or other of the things I had put to flight reappears on the scene. We become wiser by adversity. Prosperity destroys our appreciation of the right. Even after a bad harvest, there must be sowing. Slavery takes hold of few, but many take hold of slavery. A person's fears are lighter when the danger is at hand. There is as much greatness of mind in acknowledging a good turn as in doing it. Shame may restrain what law does not prohibit. Wisdom does not show itself so much in precept as in life. In firmness of mind and a mastery of appetite, it teaches us to do as well as to talk, and to make our words and actions all of a color. To leave me, that was a happy age, before the days of architects, before the days of builders. One must steer, not talk. Do everything as in the eye of another. Nothing is void of God, his work is. Everywhere he is full of himself. The bad fortune of the good turns their faces up to heaven. The good fortune of the bad bows their heads down to the earth. There is a noble manner of being poor, and who does not know it will never be rich. When we are well, we all have good advice for those who are ill. Light troubles speak, the weighty are struck dumb. It is another's fault if he be ungrateful, but it is mine if I do not give. To find one thankful man, I will oblige a great many that are not so. A large part of mankind is angry not with the sins, but with the sinners. Life is warfare. Consult your friend on all things, especially on those which respect yourself. His counsel may then be useful where your own self-love might impair your judgment. No one is laughable who laughs at himself. Our care should not be to have lived long as to have lived enough. The heart is great which shows moderation in the midst of prosperity. He who dreads hostility too much is unfit to rule. No evil propensity of the human heart is so powerful that it may not be subdued by discipline. Where fear is, happiness is not. Call it nature, fate, fortune. All these are names of the one and selfsome God. Constant exposure to dangers will breed contempt for them. In war, when a commander becomes so bereft of reason and perspective that he fails to understand the dependence of arms on divine guidance, he no longer deserves victory. It is the sign of a great mind to dislike greatness, and to prefer things in measure to things in excess. To keep oneself safe does not mean to bury oneself. A punishment to some a gift, and to many a favor. Precepts or maxims are of great weight, and a few useful ones on hand do more to produce a happy life than the volumes we can't find. The deferring of anger is the best antidote to anger. No man enjoys the true taste of life, but he who is ready and willing to quit it. That which is given with pride and ostentation is rather an ambition than a bounty. The way is long if one follows precepts, but short if one follows patterns. It is better, of course, to know useless things than to know nothing. I will govern my life and thoughts as if the whole world were to see the one and read the other, for what does it signify to make anything a secret to my neighbor when to God, who is the searcher of our hearts, all our privacies are open? Successful and fortunate crime is called virtue. Everything is the product of one universal creative effort. There is nothing dead in nature. Everything is organic and living, and therefore the whole world appears to be a living organism. It makes a great deal of difference whether one wills not to sin, or has not the knowledge to sin. The pressure of adversity does not affect the mind of the brave man. It is more powerful than external circumstances. Consider, when you are enraged at anyone, what you would probably think if he should die during the dispute. Whatever fortune has raised to a height, she has raised only to cast it down. Crime, when it succeeds, is called virtue. To be able to endure odium is the first star who be learned by those who aspire to power. True praise comes often even to the lowly, false praise only to the strong. The display of grief makes more demands than grief itself. How few men are sad in their own company. We can be thankful to a friend for a few acres, or a little money, and yet for the freedom and command of the whole earth, and for the great benefits of our being, our life, health, and reason, we look upon ourselves as under no obligation. So live with men as if God saw you, and speak to God as if men heard you. What difference does it make how much you have? What you do not have amounts to much more. I don't trust liberals, I trust conservatives. I don't trust liberals, I trust conservatives.